It is January 16th, 2018. The Sharks win in a shootout 3-2 over the Desert Dogs. That's right. The Sharks beat the Coyotes. And welcome to this edition of Teal Town After Dark. We are your live and interactive post-game show for your San Jose Sharks. Man, oh man. 3 games in a row. We're looking not bad right now. Hi, everybody. I'm Buckeye. You can follow me on Twitter at Buckeye14. But nonetheless, if you want to be the part of the show, and we encourage you to be a part of the show, we are your live and interactive Sharks post-game. We do this after every game, so do so. If you want to join us in the chat on the YouTube chat page or app, do so. If you want to chime in on Twitter, use the hashtag TealTownUSA. You can also follow us on Facebook, Instagram, SoundCloud, and YouTube. Joining me tonight, my fellow Notch Pro, Shinji Alexander. How are you, good sir?
Isn't it kind of weird that it's like this is deja vu because it used to just be the two of us doing this stuff walking down Santa Clara Street?
I know, but it would be too much of a long drive to just
to walk down. Hi, we're doing this old school.
Yes, so we're
good. I'm good. I know my absence has been felt. My third line presence has been needed.
Hey,
booster. Yeah.
Hey, as long as like the third line, the last couple of games, last few games for that matter, you always come in for a key moment.
You know what? But here's the thing: if one of those third liners is getting paid $4 million, we need to renegotiate my contract there, Notch Bro.
Okay, sure. I'll get you paid as soon as I get paid for this thing. Deal?
Deal.
Awesome-tastic. So let's deep dive into this craziness and get on to the action. All right. First period, I thought the Coyotes came out a little strong early on. Kind of did the same thing like they did against the Sharks early on, although we didn't have 6 goals in the first 14 minutes of the hockey game. But nonetheless, on the power play, Joe Thornton picks up goal number 395 on the year from Couture and Hurdle. A breakdown near the front of the net. He gets his 11th to make it 1-0 Sharks. Notch, I mean, Jumbo, 3-game goal scoring streak.
Well, we only need 4 more, and we got Rooster Bingo. So, I mean, you got to hand it to them because they charged the net, and Thornton, being 6'5", 6'8" that he is, he needs to be in front of the net, causing havoc, and he was just there to bury it in on a wide open net that Ronta was just like saying, "Ole, here you go, Jumbo." So it was 1-0 on the power play. And you know what? The power play is looking a little bit better, but I still want to fire Steve Slott.
Hey, the power play has been a lot better. It hasn't been.
Still fire him.
It hasn't been where it was like in late October, early November. It just was.
But don't get me started on that. But don't get me started on that second power play attempt later on, which was a passing fest that went by the way of Colin Kaepernick and kept getting intercepted and thrown out of the zone.
Oh, ouch! Yeah, no, the power play was all right after that first one. The Sharks did go 1 for 2 on the man advantage tonight, but nonetheless, it was 1-0 after 1. Second period, and what? Second game in a row. First off, Joe Thornton has a 3-game goal scoring streak. Now Mikkel Bodker, 34 seconds into the second period, has his 5th goal in the season. That's right. Now he's averaging $800,000 per goal. What? His 5th on the season from Bernsey and Joachim Ryan to make it 2-0.
I would say right now, this is when I'd be Doug Wilson being like, "Hey guys, Mikkel Boedker is hot bod again. Can we please get at least a fourth rounder for him, guys, please?" But no, I mean, gotta get it to him. Really good shot. It got by Ranta. But that was pretty much the end because the Sharks kind of went lethargic. We're just gonna sit back on this lead, and we have a 2-0 lead, and no lead, and I repeat, no lead is ever safe in hockey. Like, remember when you had a 3-0 series lead? And I don't care where the Coyotes are in the standings. You do not give up a 2-0 lead to the last place team. And if you expect to be anything considering a contender for the Cup this year.
Yeah, that's the concern I have is that it's you get 2 wins, which is great. You get 2 wins against the Coyotes. However, you have to go into overtime to get it, or in this case, you have to go into a shootout for tonight. But as we move on into the third period, late in the second period, Jordan Martinook with a nice deflection from, don't call him Daddy Demers, and Richardson at 16:05. They go into the dressing room after 40, down just 1. Of course, in the third, this is where the Coyotes really took it to the Sharks.
Yes, they had a 9-1 shot advantage or a 9-0 shot advantage for like the first 10 minutes of that period.
Yeah,
I mean, my stats might have been wrong, but still, I mean, you give that, and they had the momentum through all of the third period, and the Sharks looked like a team that had just played last night. They looked tired. They were lazy, and it looked like someone disconnected their controller, and they were just skating by, going "Ole." Like, honestly, guys, I've seen much better effort from these guys. And can we honestly I want to point out since last game, can we just have the other team, like when we start Jones and net, can we just have the other team just wear Kings jerseys? Because that seems to be the only way that Martin Jones seems to put on a stellar performance this season.
You do what you can do to I just lost my train of thought.
Well, you're much like the Sharks tonight because they just seemed to lost their game in the third period against the last place team in the league.
Well, and that's the thing too, is that I think I forget who tweeted out. I think might have been Uncle Darren Stevens. Boedker's goal was on the 13th shot of the game, and up until that 10-minute mark, like you were talking about, they had 8 shots on goal. Well, those 8 shots were pretty much in the second period. So, but you know what? You find a way. You just find a way.
What is this, Jurassic Park? We find a way. Everything finds a way. Just if you're going to be a cup contender, just go out there and win the game. Just do it.
Thank you, Ray Ratto. Skylar Greenberg in the chat. The Sharks were tired playing against a fresh young team. Yeah, but you know what? They had this again. They had this game again, and like Helen says in the chat, hi Helen. Hey guys, great game, but why need the OT win if we can't commit in the regular regulation period? And see, that's the thing, is that they need to stay fresh. To quote Rainey Hahn, keep it real, keep it fresh, keep it real fresh.
It's one of those things that you're coming out and you start off the game really solidly, and then you get into the turtle shell, and it's like, but here's the thing, is that when you get into the turtle shell, you have the other team tends to say, okay, well, they're just backing in, they're going to play safe defense instead of taking chances and trying to extend the lead. This is the thing that has irritated me about the Sharks team since when I started watching this godforsaken love of a sport that this is they play to their opponent's level, and then they get lazy because they feel like they can take a night off. Gentlemen, in this half of the season, you cannot take a night off, especially with the standings right now as they are. 2 points can separate you. Let's look at Tampa Bay last year. They were 2 points out of a playoff spot after going on that wonderful run that they did. You know what? Let's say right now, what 2 points could cost the Sharks at this late in the season? You have to play like, if you're not going to win every game, at least do what they did tonight and get it in OT or get it in the shootout. You have to get those points. But right now, these are the games that you have and games that you should clearly be able to win without a problem. Those are the ones that you need to take advantage of. This is a team that's in last place and is probably going to tank for Rasmus Dahlin and then somehow trade Oliver Ekman-Larsson and then be even better next year, or in the 2 years when they eventually move to either, Quebec or Houston. But right now it's just you're skating on thin ice. And I know the Sharks are used to skating on thin ice because they play at SAP Center, but still, start looking at the standings and start tightening up those skates a little bit tighter, because you're not gonna there's gonna be no easy games and easy wins. This is a game that you should have won easily, but in the rest of the year, it's not gonna get any better.
You know what? You're absolutely right on that.
Goddamn right I am.
Well, no, because here's the thing: if they win this game, even in overtime, it's a great thing. The problem now is that it becomes Landy's favorite thing, the rows. The whole thing becomes now, because you're right, because of the standings as they're as tight as they are, and granted they've won 3 in a row, but you are now really in to the point where a regulation overtime win could be, critical in the point. I mean, we'll talk about the standings in the moment, but I mean, right now, San Jose with the win gets into second place, but they only have 21 rows, although they play 2 fewer games than Calgary has, but Calgary has 23 rows. So you have to take advantages of those games in hand and win in regulation or overtime. It's really important on that. In the shootout, Joe Pavelski goes with his Panthers move, scores, and then here's the thing, is Dell. He like Randy said, he didn't have to. He only made like one save in his first ever shootout, which is nice, gets the job done. But Notch Bro, what did you think of Delicious tonight?
I think that either you better move him soon or you better sign him to an extension right now, because his value keeps rising and rising, and he's looking like one of your bright spots. You start looking at that defense and saying, like, you have a young defensive core that's kind of up and coming right now with, Ryan and DeMello and, and all of them. Now you have to start looking at that, shoring up that backup spot. And then you have to start looking at, well, if he starts to use Steve Jones, maybe start looking at Dell a little bit more, or start trusting him, because I feel like the Sharks didn't trust him enough last season, and it cost him in the playoffs because Jones was making too many starts. Now I kind of feel like we're on the verge of a goaltending, controversy, but it's too soon to kind of say. But you got to give it to Dell, who's been playing lights out for most of this year. Yes. And I'm gonna say this, is that those goals that Dell let in tonight, none of them were his fault, because one was just a sick deflection, which Joe Pavelski used to make and made a living doing, but hasn't done so in a while. And the other one, which is just, what was it? Richardson just had a clear path to the net, and there was
Open net because it was a nice pass there.
yeah, and there was nobody defending him. Kind of Pavelski was too slow on the intake, and guess what? Richardson was there to tie the game.
Yeah, but overall, Dell had a pretty good night on hand. Getting to the stats overall on the night here, Dell made 30 saves on 32 shots, pretty solid tonight. The Sharks took 22 shots on goal, so the Coyotes had the advantage there. They also had the advantage in the faceoff circle, 54-46. Like we said earlier, San Jose 1-for-2 in the power play. The Desert Dogs 0-for-2. Hits in favor of the Coyotes, 25-15. Sharks had the advantage on blocks, nearly a 2-1 advantage there. And then 5-3 in favor of the Sharks in giveaways. 5, not bad at all on that night, would you say?
Not bad at all. And I'm going to say this is that I was kind of concerned in that power play in OT, but then I realized, the Coyotes power play in clutch situations is about as good as the Sharks, which means it's not. So I didn't really have to worry about it because they were trying to be too fancy and just try to set up for one-timers to either Ekman Larson or Keller. So luckily the Sharks were able to get out of that one unscathed.
So what Ekman Larson and Keller are to the Coyotes, Burns and Pavelski are to the Sharks on that play.
Yeah.
In overtime.
Well, considering the fact that I have, Burns, Pavelski, Keller, and Ekman Larson on my fantasy team, it was kind of annoying. But let's say, but I mean, right now it's just the Sharks, were able to squeak away with that extra point, and I don't know where the updated standings are at right now, but you said that they were,
they moved to second place with the win tonight.
So how many games are we back from Vegas? Because Vegas just lost tonight, so we should have a chance, right?
Let's not get too crazy. We're 7 back of the Golden Knights, though. In the chat, do you see maybe platoon that you maybe platoon Dell and Jones down to stretch? I think so, and you're going to have a lot of back-to-backs down the stretch too, because of the few the small amount of games the Sharks have played this year. So there's definitely going to be a number of back-to-backs coming up. Like, for instance, this weekend where you play Pittsburgh on Saturday and then Anaheim on Sunday. Dell's got to get into one of those games again. And now that you see Dell has played well, albeit he had a rough game against Ottawa, which wasn't completely his fault, although he had some weak goals in there. It's a lot more interesting. Suzanne Weller, I think you know her very well, that she totally agrees that they need to trust Dell a lot more.
I've taught her well.
Yes, you have. Yes, you have.
But anyway, I think right now we've gotten to the point with the Sharks is that this is going to be the team. You've got how many more weeks until the trade deadline?
You got about, we talked about this before. I think it's late February, so you got about 4 or 5 weeks.
Okay, you got about 4 or 5 weeks, DW, to see what you have and to pull off one of those miracle moves that you somehow are able to just get out of nowhere. It's like if you ever want to do something, that can push this team just a little bit over the top, you got to start making those phone calls to see what you can get for certain players. Because you have to start looking at, do you want to carry Ward into the playoffs this year, on an expiring contract when he might have some value to a real contending team for some depth? Are you going to want to carry, Yannick Hansen into the playoffs when he's a veteran and there's teams out there that could use some, veteran depth out, you have to start looking at what you have and seeing what you can get. Even if it's, 4th or 5th rounder, it's still better than nothing. Because those 4th and 5th rounders could turn into a Pavelski, and a steal in those rounds.
Yeah, no. But yeah, it's It's crazy. About 6 weeks away. February 26th is the trade deadline, so we got about 6 weeks to go for that. You mentioned a good point about maybe Ward and such, but there's those times where you want that veteran playoff presence to get the job done. At the same time, Ward, like Anthony Mitchell in the chat says, Ward can get you something, and we talk about Bodker and we know how much crap he takes on this show.
He deserves every crap taken.
He's got 2 goals and assists since the bye week. There's he's starting to get somewhere, which is great. But my thinking is if you're having Yannick Hansen in the press box, I don't know what you can get out of him for pick. It's the same thing with Paul Martin. And if you weren't aware, Paul Martin cleared waivers today. He'll be going to the San Jose Barracuda for a considerable amount of time. But here's my thing. To have him, I hate to use this term, to have him buried in the minors might not be a bad thing, where you have some defensive depth. He can teach the kids some things here and there. But to have some of this veteran depth, not necessarily a bad thing when you probably won't get much in return.
You're lucky if you're going to get maybe, you're going to get a low pick for him at some case. Some team. But here's the thing is that you might be able to get a higher pick if you retain some salary. And I think if you can retain like maybe, 1.5 or maybe 2 million in salary, that's still better than eating the entire contract for the remainder of next year unless he, retires, which doesn't look likely because he still wants to prove that he has more games to play. So you got to go to a team out there that's willing to eat that contract. Speaking of a team that can eat that contract, hey, Arizona, how's it going? Since the Arizona Coyotes are essentially bailing out the Chicago Blackhawks of all cap, problems, which is kind of annoying. It's like, can the NHL and the rest of the league, just teams, can we stop helping out the Blackhawks? They got themselves into this situation. They just need to suffer and just suck for the rest of their time.
And it doesn't help that maybe Corey Crawford might be done for the year. That might be a huge loss for the Hawks, and for them maybe it can be like a retooling rebuild mode for the Hawks, which is weird to say with Kane and Taves in there. But
Hawks, hey Hawks, I heard you guys might need a goaltender. Throwing that up there.
Yeah. Blackhawks weren't in cap hell this year, Gen X says. Yep. That's a big loss. A couple was 2 years ago. Ward is ancient now to Alex Martinet. Panarin for Dell. LOL. Well, Panarin's with the Blue Jackets. So you got that.
Or here's an idea that, because Steve Dangle brought this up on the podcast when they were talking about Jack Johnson and stuff like that. Do you move Dell for Jack Johnson? Here's the thing. Yes, he's got around the same cap hit as Paul Martin, but he's on an expiring deal. And I think that he'd be willing to do anything he can to prove himself.
Yeah, but are we going to risk that? Losing probably the biggest trade chip the Sharks have right now to get a guy that's going to be a UFA.
I believe biggest trade chip, I think you mispronounced Tomas Hertl, but that's neither here nor there.
But so, I mean, the thing is that you have Bobrovsky there. He's going to ride the pine.
Wait, who do they have there?
Oh, I'm sorry, Sergei Bobrovsky, along with Korpisalo. Thank you, Gen X. I was trying to figure that out. Who there? But Nick Neftepitz says that we need wingers and a centerman. I think we have.
We have too many centermen.
We could definitely use some wingers. However, we did go after a winger because we traded Goldobin to Vancouver. So
I don't know. Like, it's like, oh well, what we need is speed on the wings. I do agree with that.
mhm.
And you're looking at what the trade, what the options are out there for in terms of the trade market. And the asking price for some of these guys is way too high.
And that's that's the thing where things will come down and I would hope will come calm down once the trade deadline gets close, because either trades are not going to get made and nobody's going to move, where we've seen that happen before at trade deadlines before, or they'll figure out, okay, this is all we can get. Like what was it, the Vanek move to Montreal from the Islanders, where they basically gave him nothing really. So, that being said, before we continue on, let's say hello to everybody that has finished watching Brody and Curtis over at NBC Sports California. This is Teal Town After Dark, your live and interactive post-game show. You have the Notch Bros here, myself and Gentry Alexander. Make sure you hit the subscribe button down below. You can join us in the YouTube chat on the page or the app, or just tweet your questions over using the hashtag TealTownUSA. So the Sharks win this one 3-2 in the shootout. Any final thoughts on this game before we move along here?
I was going to say something, but I forgot what I was going to say, much like the Sharks forgot to bring their A game to this one, but that's neither here nor there. Sharks are able to squeak out with, 2 points. Good for them. You points at this point, points are points, and you need them. Now you move into second, and let's just hope we don't have a repeat of last year where we had the division clearly locked up and go on an epic. And sat on it and had an epic, 7-8 game losing streak going into the playoffs.
And plus lose two of your key centers going into the playoffs for sure too. Mm-hmm. One thing of this game. Oh, sorry. Were you going to say something else?
Nope.
Oh, sorry. I thought I caught you mid sentence there, good sir. One thing I will say about this game: it was the 2000th Sharks game for pretty much one of the original employees of the organization, Dan Ruzanowski, a good friend of mine, good friend of our doings here at Teal Town USA. So on behalf of the entire crew, Ruzy, 2,000 games, stick tap to you, bud. Great all around. He's been absolute class and kind with all of us. I think with all the fans throughout the years, and you can't say any bad things about Dan Ruzanowski. He's just been that great.
I think give it up to Dan. He's been here for as long as I can remember. Given every ounce of passion that he's had for this sport and this Bay Area team, that for the longest time was just was kind of a niche thing, and he's still stuck with this team. Mm-hmm. So stick taps to the Ruse, and let's hope for 2,000 more.
Absolutely.
Because I really can't imagine anybody else calling Sharks games on the radio.
Nope. And he, the only time there was when he unfortunately got into a car accident a while ago now, and he's pretty much missed all but 20 some odd games. I think it's like 27 games in Sharks history. So he's the guy who's pretty much seen virtually every Sharks game, home and away, on the San Jose Sharks Radio Network.
Yeah, he's called every single game before, wasn't it like there was not a time, not that long ago, when not every Sharks game was televised. And The only way you can get any type of, play was listening to it on the radio. So
yeah,
he's been there for every game.
Yeah, no, definitely. Going in the chat, let's see. I'm looking in here. Barzal talk. We won't start on Matthew Barzal, and I'm still bad. I gave him up for a moment in our fantasy league, gent. But damn you.
Hey, let's talk trades.
Oh yeah, I'm not trading you Austin Matthews for no name here. Rob, I'm in the chat. Who remembers Joe Starking on Sharks games? Yeah, that's the funny thing too is that Randy Hahn was the guy who one of the guys who brought the Sharks to San Jose. Didn't get the play-by-play job right away. He filled in here and there for Joe Starkey, who many of you know in the Bay Area as a 49er radio announcer, also does Cal football. But he did the Sharks early on, and then Randy took over year 3. What else was I seeing in there? Barzal. We don't know what happened with Baker. It's good to hear Bakes on the radio with his buddy Ruzi. Let's see, Rob and again, Ruzinowski and Hahn are immortal. Oh, absolutely. Cheryl in the chat. Hey, Puck is that alumni sweater? Yes. Well, it's not an alumni sweater per se. This is Victor Kozlov's 93-94 playoff jersey, which they were going to use the following year before the lockout, hence why it has the 95 All-Star patch on the jersey. But this would have been worn by Kozlov if he had played in the 94 playoff run. So, all right. With that being said, shall we go do the NHL wraparound?
Let's do it.
All right. And while we do this, I'm going to pull up one of my favorite tweets of all time. Christine, thank you. Oh my goodness, thank you. And there's a reason why I say that is because she provided me a pronunciation guide from the NHL. Holy mackerel. Yes! I can't F this up anymore. Well, layman.
Well, you can find new ways of effing stuff up,
Yeah, that's
internet.
Oh yeah, I'm sure AOL would be bad. And yes, Randy was the I think he was either ringside reporter or he was the in-game host. He did what Brody is doing now for Prime Ticket for the Kings before he came up here. Anywho, let's go around the league here on this night. In Toronto, Dangle's gonna have a rough LFR tomorrow morning. The Maple Leafs had a 1-0 lead thanks to Connor Brown's 11th on the season. Goal. It was a shorthanded goal, and then with 57 seconds left, the Blues tie it from
Alex Steen.
Yeah, and he made it 1-1 with Dunn making the game done pretty much at 1:43 of overtime. The Blues win 2-1 in OT. Former Shark prospect Carter Hutton gets the win. Frederick Anderson the loss for the Leafs. And Dangle's probably saying this team is ruining my life.
Hey, Dangle, at least your team has won a cup, okay?
No, it's been a while, though.
Still has a cup.
Yeah, that's true. Speaking of teams who have won cups, in Brooklyn tonight, the Islanders lose to the New Jersey Devils 4-1. Palmieri, along with Severson and Taylor Hall, get the goals for the Devils. Anders Lee gets his 26th of the season, but dang, not enough as the Islanders lose 4-1 to New Jersey.
Keep losing, Islanders, because we need John Tavares on the Sharks.
Wishful thinking can only suggest that. All right.
Hey, I'm just saying that's more of a possibility than him going to Toronto or Montreal.
Montreal, maybe. Toronto, I can't see it. Especially
not with that media.
Well, and for that matter, with the amount of money that they're They're going to have to pay Austin Matthews, San Remo native Austin Matthews, of course. It's just not going to happen. In Manhattan, the Rangers light up the Flyers 5-1. Nash with 2 goals. And Miller, Carey, and Grabner. Grabner, another solid year. He hits 20 on the campaign. Jordan Wheel gets the lone goal for the Flyers as Lundqvist gets the W for the Rangers. In Detroit, the Stars continue to rule 4-2 over the Red Wings. Faxa Spezza with 2 goals. Hansel finishes it off. Trevor Daley gets his 3rd on the year, who got the score going early. And Athanasiou, his 10th on the year, but not enough for the Red Wings. A good barn burner in the place where Rocket Backhander resides. The Predators beat the Vegas Golden Knights. Thank you so much, Nashville. We like it. We love it. We want some more of it.
Except in the playoffs.
Exactly. Kevin Fiala, 8 minutes into the 3rd, is the lone goal as Saros gets the shutout over Marc-Andre Fleury.
And it's the first time the Knights have been shut out.
Yeah, it's the first time that the Knights have not scored a goal.
And how ironic that it was against the backup goaltender. It's almost like you know what? I feel like the first time the Sharks have got shut out it was because of a backup goaltender. But then again, we got to stop we maybe have to stop calling them the Golden Knights, because if the Army has their way, they're going to take that name away.
Yeah. Do you need a team name pronunciation guide, Eric? Yeah, I know. I was trying to say presents as the same time as I was saying Predators. So yes,
it happens.
It happens. We're
doing it live. This is what we do for the people.
Yep. And yep. Just having fun. They're having way too much fun in the chat now. All right. That being said, and of course, the Sharks won in the shootout 3-2 over the Coyotes. With that being said, at the standings as of this moment, we'll start in the West, where Winnipeg is still at 59. The win for Nashville gets them 1 point behind them at 58. St. Louis, with their win, goes to 57. So what a tight race in the Central between the Jets, Reds, and Blues. That is awesome to see. In the Pacific, the loss keeps Vegas at 61. The Sharks leapfrog all the way from 9th and on the outside looking in to 2nd in the Pacific at 54 points. They played 43 games with 21. Chadwick.
What? Sorry, I was falling asleep, much like the Sharks did tonight.
21.
I don't have the thing in
Rose! There's Rose!
Man, I'm not Landy. I don't have the laundry behind me.
Dang it. All right. They do have the same amount of points as the Calgary Flames, although the Flames have played 2 more games and have 2 more rows than the Sharks right now. But because of that, they leapfrog over the Flames. Your wild cards as we speak, Dallas at 55, LA at 53. They have the same amount of points as Minnesota at 53, but they have 2 games in hand on the Wild. The Sharks' next opponent, the Colorado Avalanche, are at 51. The Hawks are at 50. Anaheim at 49. Edmonton at 43. Vancouver at 42. And the Desert Dogs do get a pickup of points. They're at 28 on the year. In the East, really quickly, your top 3 in the Metro, Washington, New Jersey, and Columbus. In the Atlantic, it's the Tampa Bay Maple Bolts at 65, the Bruins at 56, the Leafs clinging on at 54.
You mean the Toronto Lightning the Lightning Leafs?
There you go. Maple Lightning.
Yeah.
Yes. Rangers and Pittsburgh are at 51 each, with the Islanders creeping in at 50, the Flyers at 48, along with Carolina. If the season were to end today, I cannot talk for the life of me, which would be really rough as we head to the playoffs. But the Sharks would have home ice against the Flames in round one. The Golden Knights would play the Los Angeles Kings, and that would be a good playoff matchup for their first ever playoff series. And the Winnipeg Jets would take on the Dallas Stars in round one, along with Nashville taking on St. Louis.
Sounds good to me. Can we just end? Can we end the season right now?
Would be great, but then the tickets to your next 39 games would be canceled.
Yeah, it's fine. You know, it's not like I was going to attend any soon, but that's neither here nor there.
Yeah.
All right. So, anything else we need to cover?
Let's talk about the Colorado Avalanche.
Oh my God, I really want them to just make it to the playoffs this year. Talk about a fantastic turnaround for a team that was, considering where they were last year at this time, they have more points right now. They have the same amount of points right now as they did in the entire season last year, in last season. They've won how many in a row and still aren't in a playoff spot? They've won like 6 or 7 in a row. I'm sorry, row.
Yeah, boy.
No, so and Nathan McKinnon having like a Hart year should easily be in the Hart conversation. And if they make it to the playoffs, he should seriously win it. What a fantastic season. And it's great because him and Landeskog and Rantanen have just found this amazing chemistry and have just been just lighting the lamp when they're out there creating scoring chances. And all this without, Tyson Barrie, who's on the IR for the next couple weeks or for the next month or so. All they need, you know what? I hear that they might need some goaltending with Varlamov out for long term. Hey, Colorado, we happen to have a goaltender that you might be interested
in. Oh boy, I don't know. They're doing pretty good with Varlamov and Jonathan Bernier. They've been doing a decent job.
Bernier's been actually useful.
Yes, he actually has been useful, believe it or not. I know.
I mean, and Ryan Miller has been useful for Anaheim, which is weird.
You know what? You know what else has been really useful?
What?
Long Beach native Matt Nieto.
Yeah, that's when the turnaround happened. It was only when Matt Nieto joined them. Post-Teal syndrome, guys. It's real.
Yes. All right, chat. Do you have anything to to add on there? I would love to see what we got. Long Beach. Rainey has been good since being traded by the leagues. Yes. Laner is garbage. Let's see. They've sucked for 2 years. Be quite interesting to see what we got. Duchesne doing better now in Ottawa. Yeah, that's because the Sharks got him going to get him better. Jeez, Louise. Oh,
yeah. Goodness. We reminded Matt Duchesne that he's Matt Duchesne. He's like, oh, yeah, thanks, Sharks. So.
Yeah, Calgary and Colorado, 7 in a row. Unbelievable. Gen X. What if they're going to win the draft lottery because LOL? No. God, no. Please,
hey, guys, no. Stop joking about it because when you joke about something for long enough, it's going to happen.
Exactly. Oh, man. We don't need that again. Oh, God.
There's no way Edmonton will win the draft lottery. There's no way Trump will be president.
Yeah, yes, no kidding. Yeah, and you know what, Benjamin Castle, you bring up a great point. That was another thing. So Jumbo did get a power play goal tonight. That put him at 395 on the year. He's now tied 98th all time in NHL goal scoring with Pierre LaRouche, Cam Neely, and Marcus Naslund, but still not top 100 in the NHL. Yeah.
So what? So are they, and you got to hand it to Colorado because they were looking not so good at the start of the year. Then they made that king's ransom of a trade, convincing Ottawa, hey, Matt Duchesne is the answer to all of your problems. Give us everything, and and we'll just give you a player who's only good as maybe a second liner, second line center.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No kidding.
I mean, I think Matt Duchene is a good second line to any other team, with the exception of the Sharks. He would be a good third line center because I think Couture has more of an upside than Duchene does. So for me, it's hey, somehow they were able to say, Joe Sakic was able to pull off something and say, hey, here, we want all of this, and we will give you this one guy. And Ottawa was like, say no more, hold my drink, let's make something stupid happen. So what we need now is for Doug Wilson to pull off that kind of magic and say, hey, guys, I heard you guys need a speedy winger. Here's Mikhail Bodker. We just need a pile of assets. We need him. We just need him to pull some type of Jedi mind trick over the league. Just we just need some type of miracle. We just need some type of move. I think if there was a big enough move, or maybe even a small one, just like to just shore up some depth, I think that the Sharks would be in a much more comfortable position. Because right now, you have a bunch of rookies who are starting to come into their own, but the last time a rookie did anything really great in the playoffs was Patrick Waugh, and that was a 1 in a million.
Yeah, no kidding. No kidding. I'm looking on the hashtag for questions on the Twitter machine. Testing. If you see this, say, yes, we see you. Oh, sorry. Yes, we see you, Laurel, in Kermit's voice. Yes. There you go, Laurel. Thank you. Thank you for jumping on the questions up there. Geez. All right. With that, we shall wrap it up. Gentry, final thoughts on where people can find you on the Twitter and Instagram machines.
My final thoughts will be Rosebud for all you film buffs out there. No, I'm just kidding. Final thoughts. I still didn't like the game. I still think that the Sharks should have been able to win this in regulation and get those rows much more in order. But you know what? They found a way. They did it in the shootout. Good for them. Come in a much more effort, with the later games, because the schedule's not going to get easier for them. You can find me on Twitter atjalexander46. You can find me on Instagram with the same, handle, because I'm very predictable in that matter. And I don't know. Anything else? You can find me at a local tavern enjoying a tasty beverage on certain nights. So come track me down.
Gotcha. For me, it's. Thursday's a big game. Let's put it this way, guys. You can't take off any games from here on out because you got big games coming up. You have a game against Colorado where they're fighting for a wild card spot. They're right behind you in the standings, so you definitely got to take care of that. And it's going to be tough to play hard throughout the night and throughout the rest of the way. It'll be quite interesting to see what happens down there. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram and Snapchat and all those fun things on the social media platforms at PuckGuy14. Of course, if you missed anything or you want to watch this wonderful show again, you can do so by hitting up us on tealtownusa.com. That's right. So you can hit us up there. We're also on pretty much all your favorite podcatchers, whether it's iTunes, Google Play, SoundCloud, Stitcher, TuneIn Radio, YouTube, you name it. Of course, we encourage you to hit the subscribe button down below. Make sure you get that bell right next to it too, so that way you can check us out and get the notifications as soon as we go on the air. We will be back with you on Thursday night following the Sharks and Avalanche. That game will be at 6 p.m. You can catch that on NBC Sports California with our buddy Brobra. It should be quite an interesting game. The Sharks need this. It's the start of 3 and 4 nights, as the Sharks will have Avalanche, Penguins, and the Ducks. Oh, one thing I should mention too. If you are going to be in downtown San Jose during on Saturday during or right before the game. I believe it's mostly all day. The Sharks Foundation is having a fundraiser at Poorhouse Bistro. Portion of the proceeds of their sales at Poorhouse Bistro will go to the Sharks Foundation. Just make sure you mention Sharks Foundation when you are ordering, so that way you get a discount. And I believe they'll be out there as well. I think I'm like 2 to 4, 2 to 5. Let me pull the info. They sent me some stuff here of that you can. They'll have some prizes out there as well. So let me just pull that up really quick before we get out of here, because I want to make sure we get this out there before we take off. Yes, from 2 to 5, you can win some prizes along with mention the Sharks Foundation in order for them to get a percentage of the sales there. So hit up Poorhouse Bistro if you don't have any plans yet for Saturday before the game against the Penguins. With that, for my fellow Nacho Gentry Alexander, good to have you on here as always.
Yep, and you will not see me for another 2 weeks. I've got to make these things. I got to make these appearances limited because I'm like a myth on Teal Town. I show up every once in a while and then fade away like from the world like Alicia Silverstone.
As if that's going to happen. Suzanne, let's just make sure that happens a lot more often, though. All right. For Gentry, for myself, along with everybody here at Teal Town USA, thank you very much for watching. And until Thursday night, when we take on the Avalanche, keep it real, keep it teal, keep it real, Teal. Have a good night, everyone.